Yo, what is going on today, guys? We're back here for another video. So we have the full set list for Wisdom of Sea and Sky, the set that is coming out at 11 p.m. PST for me. Like, I think like 1 a.m. EST or 2 a.m. EST, time zones on PST. I know it's coming out at 11 p.m. for me, so less than 12 hours. I've also been awake since 3 a.m. for work, so I've already had 12 hours to look at all these cards. Basically, like think about the cards like in practical use in certain situations. So I'm going to be giving my full analysis on every single card, and I'm also going to be telling you guys like what is the best pack to open if you want the most competitive cards for value, or obviously if you play the game casually, you should just pick the set that looks the most interesting to you. Anyways, let's get into the full set analysis. So starting off with the grass types, we have a new Oddish and a Gloom. For the basic Pokemon, unless they have like an ability like this Oddish, I'm just going to be skipping past them. But we have Oddish, just poisons for 1 energy, which is cool. We have a new Gloom, 2 for 40, whatever. And we have a new Blossom, which is going to be 60 Petal Dance. And then you are going to be flipping 3 coins. This attack does 60 damage for each head. So it's essentially a Wugtrio EX. Or not Wugtrio EX, but a Dugtrio EX. Or a Lone Dugtrio, whatever it was, bro, from Celestial Guardians. Or actually, I don't think it was Celestial Guardians. Let me just pull it up real quick. Yeah, so it's essentially just this guy on a non-EX Pokemon that is a stage 2 instead. Like, it's not too bad. Like, 1 retreat's pretty nice, but it's just that card never saw value in the EX and it's a stage 1. I don't think we're going to be seeing this have value, but it's definitely a fun card. So we have Tangela. So Tangela is just, putting your opponent for sleep for 2 energy. Pretty bad. I don't really like basic Pokemon that have 2 energy attacks because like you're never really going to be using it. But we have Tangrowth, which actually has a very interesting effect. So Grass Knot does 10 base damage, and then this does 40 more damage for each basically retreat cost that you're obviously the card that is attacking to has. So for example, if it does attack something like a Snorlax, it can do up to 160 damage, which I think is very funny. Actually, obviously 170 because the base 10 damage. 3 energy though. I think if this was 2 energy, this could be something to talk about, but most things in the meta have 1 retreat cost and only 2 retreat cost. So you're going to be doing 90 damage for 3 energy, stage 1, 130 HP, not the most tanky. I'm going to be honest, it is a funny card, and that is going to be my rating. Funny. It's cool, but it's not playable, unfortunately. We have a new Scyther. As you can see here, we don't have a Scissor that is grass. Also, the Scyther is going to be colorless for 20, so it obviously means that Scissor is going to be metal, plus why wouldn't it be? We have a new Pinsir for 2, and then 1 colorless for 70. It's not going to be playable, bro. I just don't get why they just keep making Pinsir bad. Like, you've had like 4 iterations, not a single one of them have been good. Anyways, let's move on to Meganium. So first off, 1 on Chikorita is cool. 2 on Bayleaf is nice because when you evolve, you probably have 2 anyways, obviously unless you go first. Meganium, 3 energy. Not only does it not have an ability, it is a 3 energy attack that heals 20 damage from each of your Pokemon. Whoever was in charge of basically assigning everything to Meganium, I want you fired from Dina. I do not care. I'm going for your job. You do not deserve to be allowed to create cards. Why did they do Meganium so bad, bro? Especially when it's going to be, it is literally one of the main starters in ZA! I'm sorry, I'm a big Meganium fan. I'm very pissed that I can't use this, bro. At least if it was like 2 energy, it was like 2 energy, bro, for 80. Or like even like something like 70 or 60. It wouldn't even have been that good, but it just would have been playable. The 3 energy with the 3 retreat cost that I didn't even notice. Oh my god, bro. Just throw it away, bro. Throw it away. I'm pissed. So we have Ledian, which is going to be a stage 1 energy for 50. I mean, there's just no reason to play it over Kartana, to be honest. We've seen stuff like Primeape that does the same thing that has really been meta relevant. Plus, like I said, we already have Kartana, so there's really no reason to play it. Like ADHP is not going to be that lot for a stage 1. We have a new Jumpluff. So this Jumpluff is going to have the ability, your active Pokemon has no retreat cost, and is also a 1 for 60. So it's not bad. My only question is, what are you really using this in? Because it's like I feel like if this was like a basic or a stage 1 with this ability, you might have something going there. You might be able to cook up something. But the fact that you are going to have to commit to a rare candy, which basically makes it so you can't use this with like another stage 2 Pokemon. Like, I don't think it's bad because I like the one first off, I like the 1 retreat cost. I also like the 1 energy for the 60 damage. I don't think it's going to be anything meta defining. I really don't think it's going to even have like any meta relevancy. But I think it could be a cool tech option in like maybe some like creative deck that somehow makes a top cut at a tourney. I would love to see how someone like I would love to see someone creative be able to use jump loft like successfully, because obviously like the main thing I'm thinking of like right now in my head is going to be like Snorlax, just because Snorlax has a really high retreat cost of like Kangaskhan, because there is a new version coming. But I like it. It's nothing crazy, and it's not going to be like I said, bro, meta, but it is definitely cool, and it's actually usable. It is actually usable, which is I think is the deep part. We have a new Sunflora, bro, 2 for 70. No. We have a new Yanma, which is 2 energy, bro. Like I said, I don't like basics with 2 energy. There's just no reason for it. There's just no reason for it to be 2 energy. It is colorless like the other Yon Mega, but basically you attack for 20 and then switch the Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. It's not good, because then you have the other Yon Mega, which is going to be 2 for 60. Like, that's not bad. Like, first off, I really wish it was like 70, so like at least it would one shot something like an Oricorio. Maybe it's like a tech option in these grass decks, because like I don't know, it's just like Yanma and then 2 energy. Like, you wouldn't use this Yanma over the other one. It's pissing me off. We have a new Pineco, which we either don't have the evolution or the evolution is a different type. Honestly, I have no clue, bro. I've kind of forgot. So it's probably not good if we have the evolution. But once again, a basic for 2 energy attack. It's not good. We have a new Shuckle though. So Shuckle is going to be the first EX Pokemon that we actually are going to see on this thing. So let's click on it. So you think I would be happy as the guy who likes grass type Pokemon? Oh my god, we have a new EX. So we have Shuckle EX, 120 HP, you know, pretty average for a basic Pokemon. Ability, Solid Shell. This Pokemon takes minus 20 damage from attacks. Triple Slap. Flip 3 coins. This attack does 20 damage for each heads. Oh, you can join Meganium, bro. Why did they do you so dirty? This genuinely might be one of the worst EX Pokemon. Yes, you can do 1 energy up to 60 damage. I mean, realistically, you're probably going to be hitting 0 and like half the time, especially with my luck. 1 retreat cost is cool. So basically, as an actual attacker, I think this thing sucks. As a defensive Pokemon in a grass deck, and maybe it doesn't even have to be a grass deck, you know, because you like the attack is not anything. Maybe can be something for decks that might need something in the bench to attack. I'm thinking something like an Arceus here, you know, maybe like Arceus, Carnivine, Shuckle. You have Shuckle in the active spot, and so you maybe draw Carnivine, set up the Arceus, you know, swap out, something like that. But I'm gonna be so real. I think this thing sucks. I think it's funny. But like genuinely, bro, like maybe if it was like 30 damage for each heads because it is an EX Pokemon, or like it's just like something like that, so you could do up to 90. Would have been cool. But I think the fact that it actually is 20, I think it's just too low of damage number. Because like, why? I'm so upset, bro. It's so upsetting that how bad this thing is. We have Heracross. So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. You cannot use this with Berry, and the reason is because Berry, that is not the right Berry. Berry only gives you 2 colorless. So originally I saw this Heracross. I'm like, oh my god, bro, can't you just go like first use Heracross, bro, and then just win? But no, obviously it is going to be 2 grass, 90 HP, which is, you know, pretty tanky for a non-EX basic, and 40 damage for 2 energy, which is cool. Obviously, you know, like I said, I don't really like 2 energy on basics, but because it has 90 HP at least, but it does do 40 additional damage if this Pokemon has full HP. So obviously you can combo this with something like Erica, like early game, to be able to do 80 damage by turn 2. Personally, I don't like it. I think maybe if it was 1 energy 20 damage base and maybe an additional 40 damage, so 1 energy for 60, I think I would have liked this more. But I'm just thinking like going first with this thing is not that great, dude. Like obviously going second, you know, is pretty cool, but at the same time, like you have to have the Erica or a potion. And I think it maybe you might see some play in like a fun deck, but it's better than the average cards we've seen so far for the grass types. We have a new Sweet Relay card. So we actually have Cherubi, so I will cover it. So it has the ability, if this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached, attacks used by this Pokemon costs 1 less grass energy. So I do believe, this might be wrong by the way, from my understanding, if you have a tool card and you go first, you can just use the attack for free, basically like a baby Pokemon. This could be wrong, and maybe you still have to have at least 1 grass, but it makes no sense. I'm pretty sure you should be able to use this for free if you have a tool. And obviously you Sweet Relay 10, next time you use a 20, but obviously the main reason is to stack up on the other Sweet Relay cards like Alcremie. So The major problem of the Sweet Relay deck was going first. You had such a bad like advantage because you didn't get that initial attack. I think Cherubi can fix that problem. At the same time, you still have to Starfit, and now you have to play a tool card in your deck. Maybe it can make that deck go from like a deck to like a roguish deck. Maybe I think the concept is cool to help buff that deck, and I like that like they have that archetype and they are still giving cards for that archetype. And maybe in the future, bro, we could even get better support. So I'm a fan. I'm actually a fan of this card. I think it's cool. And obviously, because it is a grass energy, I'm pretty sure the other ones are colorless anyways, but like you don't have to necessarily play grass. You could just simply rely on getting that tool card to get the attack for free. And then you could always evolve it into Charm, which is just a Farfetch 1 for 40. It is colorless though. I don't know. I don't even know if you would play Charm in this. I think you would just like play Cherubi, bro. And like, I don't even know if you would play Charm, but like maybe you possibly could. But anyways, yeah, so that's it for all the grass cards. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I think Jumpluff is probably going to be the best grass card, and the second best card is Cherubi. And I think those two are going to be the best. I think the grass types honestly got done dirty. I think they're kind of scared of giving us good grass types, or they're gonna give us some Meganium EX that is good once Legend ZA comes out, and we probably get a pack that's like kind of like themed around it closer to the launch. I don't know if they actually would do that. I don't know if they're going to synergize like the launch of ZA with like a pack or something, but hopefully they do, because I'd be very happy about that. But I'm still pissed about Meganium, bro. Like I want to punch a hole in my wall. I'm not going to cap. Okay, so next up for the fire Pokemon, we have a new Vulpix. So first off, I don't think you're going to be running this one over the old one because it is a 2 energy attacker. We have a new Ninetales. So this Ninetales has 100 HP. For 3 energy. It is going to do 120 damage, but during this next turn, this Pokemon can attack. So you can use this with Lyra to be able to obviously get rid of or get around that downside of obviously the attack. So is this one better than the old Ninetales because it doesn't discard energy? It is 1 energy more. I personally don't think so. I think the old Ninetales is a little bit better because like you're gonna be doing 120 damage with Blaine anyways. So the other Ninetales is also better going first if you do combo with Magma, because originally I was thinking like you could combo with this Magma, going second, you would be able to do 120 damage on your very next turn. At the same time, you attack and then you need the Lyra. So I don't know. It could cook. It definitely could cook. I don't think it's bad, just because it does do a lot of damage and we do have Magma in the game now. But I just don't know if it's better than the previous Ninetales. I don't know if the 120 not being able to attack and you needing an additional card for a second attack is worth it, because I don't really like having to use something like a fossil attack, bro. I'd rather just have to use Lyra at this point. But we will see, bro. Like maybe it can cook, and like maybe with Magma, like it is pretty cool. You just gotta see how good the baby Pokemon are gonna be. You also saw after Ninetales is going to be the Typhlosion line. So I really like that both obviously Cyndaquil is, but I also like that Koalava is a 1 energy attacker for 30. And we have Typhlosion. So Typhlosion has the ability of putting burn on your opponent's active Pokemon. So we've seen like this ability before with Grafai, where this is instead of like a coin flip, I like that it's guaranteed burn. And it's 2 for a Magma Punch. I'm not gonna lie, I would have really liked to see Typhlosion be a 1 energy for 50 damage, because I feel like it would synergize more with the Heatmor that we will see later. I think 2 energy for 60, so basically 80 damage. Typhlosion is essentially going to be a red because burn does 20 extra damage. So say red on the bench. 2 retreat cost is kind of bad, I'm not gonna lie. I would also like to either like because it is 2 energy, I also would have liked to see a 1 retreat cost. But it is what it is. You always could play something like Leaf. 140 HP isn't the most tankiest proc, especially for this, because yeah, it's just an easy number to hit nowadays. But I guess while we're talking about burn, let me just skip down here. We have this Heatmor. I'll just talk about it real quick. If your opponent's active Pokemon is burned, it does 90 more damage for 2 for 90. So you need to put 2 on Heatmor, which is a basic. Then you would have to set up a stage 3 or stage 2, which is Typhlosion. Why would not just play Savali Gladion, bro? Why not just play Savali for 100 damage instead? I think the concept of Typhlosion, and I think if we do get more burn support in the future, I think Typhlosion could probably be one of those cards that rise up one day. But I don't know what you're going to be playing with Typhlosion, because I don't know why you'd play Typhlosion in like Charizard EX, for example, or like Flareon. Like, wow, I don't know what real good fire type you would be pairing. I think also if either Typhlosion or Heatmor was like 1 energy, maybe there could be more synergy, but they're not. Oh, we have a new Slugma Marcargo. Slugma's 2 energy, which sucks, but let's see what this Marcargo does. I cannot pronounce his name, bro. So 2 energy, 1 other Pokemon, either yours or your opponent is chosen at random 3 times for each time a Pokemon was chosen. Do 50 damage to it. So it is Wugtrio, except instead of doing only your opponents, you could also target your Pokemon. I don't personally like this card. I think it's going to be funny YouTube content, but the fact that you damage your own is really stupid, bro. I'm going to be so honest. Like, can this card damage itself? Like, that's what I'm wondering. Can this just damage itself? I don't know about that. It says 1 other Pokemon. Never mind. So it does not damage itself. I'm just being stupid. Like I said, bro, I've been up at 3 a.m. I've been up since 3 a.m. bro. Chill on me. I think it's funny YouTube content. Definitely can. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be like a cool YouTube short card. We have Magby, which we've already talked about, which is just the energy generation baby Pokemon for no attack cost. We have a legendary dog, bro. 4. How are you even getting 4 energy on this, bro? Like, you're not playing Moltres in 2025, bro. 110 damage, 110 HP. Flip a coin. If tails, discard 2 random energy from this Pokemon. Not only is it a 4 energy cost, bro, and it might just discard the. So you spend the whole game setting it up, praying to God Moltres lands some good coin flips, and then you attack once after you can actually attack, and then boom, you discard 2 and you can't even attack again, bro. Like, throw it away, bro. Throw it away. You can look at my pasty arms, bro. The light's on. I'm white. We get it. I think this might be one of the worst Pokemon, bro. Like, I don't know why they hate fire types, man. They either make fire types the best card, aka Stoke Charizard, or it is complete garbage. We have Ho. Obviously, we've already talked about Ho before, but I guess for people who have not seen any of the stuff, 3 energy, ramps a fire, water, and electric on Pokemon of your bench of your choosing. They have to be basics. I'm just gonna get into it, bro. I think this card might be bad because we'll come back to Ho-Oh, bro. We'll come back to Ho-Oh, but yeah, it's still doing the same thing. We have Darmanitan, which I'm very pissed because I love Darmanitan, which is a 3 energy 70, so it's one of those bulk cards. And we've already talked about Heatmore. So that is all the fire types. I will say, though, I think obviously Magby is going to the best. I think Typhlosion has potential maybe in the future. And it could be like a cool card. Like, maybe somebody does cook up something. Or here we got to look at all the fire types in the past and stuff when we do think about Typhlosion. But it's kind of the same situation with Grass, bro. We just got some mid. Like, we don't really have anything meta defining that is probably not Magby, and I don't know how good the baby Pokemon are going to be in this meta. We still have to wait and see when the pack actually launches and when obviously, you know, tournaments and ranked both launch. Okay, let's move on to the water types because water types need support. Water types have been MIA, bro, for like 3 seasons. Okay, so we have a Politoed. We finally have Politoed. I think we actually had Politoed before, but this one actually has an ability. So first off, I just like Poliwag and Poliwhirl both being 1 energy. I think that is cool because like I like stage 1s with 1 energy. So we have Politoed. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, attacks used by your Pokemon that evolve from Poliwhirl do 40 plus damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And it is a 2 for 60. I don't like the fact that this has to be on the bench because I think if this was allowed to do 100 damage for 2 energy, I think it could see play. But they want you to use Politoed and either pair it with a second Politoed or a Poliwrath, and we could just look at the Poliwraths currently in the game. So the only Poliwrath is going to be a 3 energy for 80, so you could do up to 120 damage for 3 energy. You also have the counter attack, so you have the Judigon ability where they take 20 if they attack you. I think 2 Politoeds, you know, 2 for 100 is just overall better. The problem is you have to set up 2 stage 2 Pokemon, and I don't know, like maybe if this is like an actual TCG, you could have multiple Politoeds, bro, because you could play more than 2 of each copy of a card. It could be cool because you could have like an Omega like Poliwrath doing like plus 80 damage, dude, like up to 160 for 3. But unfortunately, this is Pokemon Pocket. We only have 2 copies. 2 stage 2 is just too hard to pull off, and with the consistency of this game. So I think it's cool. I really like what they were going for, but I just think it missed the mark. I think if Politoed at least buffed itself, it also could have been cool, but unfortunately it has to be on the bench, which means obviously for the active it doesn't buff itself. You can see here we have our next EX Pokemon that was not originally shown in the trailer. So we have a Seadra. We also have the Seadra that does 2. No, actually, I think the Seadra is 3 for like sniping. new Seadra, which is going to be 2. But we have Kingdra. So Kingdra EX is going to be 2 energy, 170 HP. So very tanky, which is cool. A lot of, I think like EX Pokemon, like stage 2 EX Pokemon, like 170 HP. So it's not like actually like that different. But we have 2 energy for 90 damage, 1 retreat cost. I kind of would have liked to see this thing have a no retreat cost just because it is Kingdra. You know, usually like those very fast Pokemon like Infernape have no retreat cost, but whatever, you know, 1 is not that bad at the end of the day. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat. So I think Kingdra could have had some sauce in the past, but because we have Lyra now, if a lot of decks are running that card, this, you know, just gets around Kingdra. Not only that, but like Buzzwole is probably going to still be meta relevant, so Buzzwole just also gets run. Although like 170 HP with the access to Irida, I don't think it's amazing. At the same time, it is a 90 damage for 2 energy, very tanky access. It's one of those rare candy god roll decks. You also have access, like I said, access to Irida, Misty going first, potentially like going first, using a Misty, getting 1 flip, rare candy, attacking on your second turn, going first. Your energy won't, or your Pokemon or your opponent can't evolve their Pokemon. It is always something to think about. I don't think it's complete trash. I think it's mid. I'm saying mid not as a bad way. I think it's all right. I think it's a very basic EX Pokemon, and that's not bad because, you know, maybe it can see play, bro. We just gotta wait and see. I think it definitely can cook. Is it gonna be like a top tier or high tier deck? No, maybe like a mid low tier deck can take advantage of Kingdra though. So I'm interested to see what people cook up. Anyways, we have a new Magikarp. Basically, if you land heads, your opponent can't attack and prevent all the damage from this Pokemon done. So whatever. I think the Leap Out one is probably still better. And then we have the new Gyarados. We've already talked about it, which discards Pokemon from your bench. And we will be coming back to this Gyarados when we do see future cards. Anyways, we have Feraligatr. So Feraligatr is basically just Gyarados, but confirmed. When you attack, you discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. It's one of the, it's like, again, I would have loved to see this 2 energy with like 70 damage instead of 90. I think it can, like, you know, a good Misty Flip for a candy can make this thing pretty deadly, but it's just too many, like, stars have to line for you. Also, with 3 retreat cost is terrible. I know we do have Lyra in the game now, but I'm gonna go on and say it. I don't think people are gonna play it, but yeah, that's just me. Unfortunately, I just don't think it's enough. Like, I don't think 90 damage is enough for like the 3 energy cost. We have a new Zermurl, which is 3 for 60, which is just first off, like, which is just why? Just why? Like, why couldn't it just be 2 for 60? Makes no sense. But it has thick fat, so it takes minus 30 damage from both fire and water types. It's just not good. We have a new Wooper and a Quagsire, which are just filler. Like, I'm not even going to talk about them. Coolfish poisons for 20. Sure. Like, I don't know why you want to poison on a water deck. It's like, sure, but I'm just going to say it. We have Corsola. So Corsola is find a friend colorless. Put a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. 80 HP, so, you know, it's pretty, like, 80 HP is like pretty tanky, you know, for a basic Pokemon that doesn't evolve. However, I'm going to spoil in the future. We do get a card that literally just power creeps it in the same set. So could have been a cool ability as a colorless, but unfortunately there's just a better Pokemon. So we have Octillery, which is going to be a Octazooka for 2 energy, 50 damage. If the defending Pokemon tries to use an attack, your opponent flips a coin. If tells that attack doesn't happen, this effect lasts until the defending Pokemon leaves the active spot and it does not stack. So unlike the other ones, if your opponent chooses not to attack after getting attacked by Octazooka, or maybe they just can't attack because they don't have enough energy, they still have to flip the coin as long as that same Pokemon is staying in the active spot, which I really like this over the other one. Just because the other one, you know, only lasts for that turn. I like the fact that if you do attack them, like I said before, they are able to attack. You do basically force them to have to play around it. And I think it's cool. Is it going to be anything meta defining? No, but I think it's funny and it could be some cool YouTube content. We have Delibird, draw a card. Why would you play this over Eevee? Mantine, I'm not gonna look at it, bro. I'm gonna be so honest. It's a basic for 4 energy. It's just filler. We have Suicune, bro. We have Suicune defending, or during your opponent's next turn, used by a defending Pokemon, do minus 20 damage. It's like 3 energy for 70. It's just bad. It's just bad. I'm sorry to say, bro, but all the dogs are just bad. We have Corefish and Crawdon. So Crawdon, as you can see, has an ability. Unfortunately, Corefish is going to be a 2 energy attack. I don't think we have Corefish in the game so far. I could just double check that. Yeah, we do not have Corefish in the game, which means you're going to be stuck using this bad one. But we have Crawdon. So once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hands to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I think this is a strong ability. However, 3 energies to it, like, it's just the same thing I've been saying. They just put too many energy requirements on some of these Pokemon, making them useless. If this was 2 energy, I think this could have been cool, because 2 energy for 70 damage discards an opponent's Pokemon. It's not that strong, bro. It's really not that strong, even if it was 2 for 70. And even maybe let's say it's 2 energy and it only does 50 to 60 damage. It could have been playable, bro, but I think the 3 energy really kills it. I do think you can get away from using Crawdon because you have this Gyarados. You could use the Crawdon basically just as bench filler, and you could evolve and get rid of it and stuff like that. So I think it has some potential there, but as a standalone Pokemon, it's pretty bad. We also have this Ducklet, which is just 1 for 10 colorless. Kind of sucks, it's not at least 20, but whatever. And we have Swanna, so 80 HP, stage 1, 2 colorless energy. When you attack, you move all the energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So I think it has potential. Also has no retreat cost, which is nice to pair with the attack. What is really going to take advantage of Swanna? We don't know. However, I think it can have some sauce, and maybe somebody does cook up something. To be honest, I can't think of anything on my head, so I'm gonna just let some people cook. But it's one of those cards that either has really high potential, or at the end of the day, it just really doesn't accomplish anything still. Because like, why would I want to set up 2 on this, attack, and then move it? So we just gotta wait and see. But it's one of those cards that just has potential. Okay, so what do I think is the best water type now that we've looked at all of them? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I think it's going to be either this Gyarados or Kingdra. I think it's in between those two. I think Swanna, like I said, has possibility, but I think overall, just in terms of first glances, I think these two are the best. And I'm saying best as in, they're best out of the bunch of mid. So I don't think any of these cards are meta defining. I think both Kingdra and Gyarados could maybe be low tier to roguish decks in the meta. We also have to say, because they also could just be better than what we think. Because obviously, like, sometimes you look at a card and you don't think it's good, but then you actually play it, or someone cooks up some cool deck that nobody thought of, and it works. So like, I'm saying some of these cards like aren't good, but okay, like these cards, yeah, they're not going to be good. But like the cards that actually have potential, they could always be better than what we think. Moving on to electric types, so we have a new, obviously, EX. We have Lantern. We have Chinchou, which is going to be 1 for 10. I don't understand why it's not 20. Lantern EX. So it's going to be 3 energy, 150 HP, 2 retreat cost. 2 retreat cost kind of sucks, but is what it is. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. If tails, your opponent is now confused. I like the fact that it does something regardless. I think confusion is also very strong, and obviously paralyzed is very broken. However, it's only doing 80 damage for 3 energy. I don't know why it wasn't like 2 for 60. It should have just been 2 for 60. Obviously the positives is Pichu is in the game. We've already talked about Pichu. Pichu ramps in energy to a basic Pokemon on the bench. We have Ampharos, which is going to be a 2 lightning. It has 80 damage base and can do up to 40 damage if you land head, so 120 damage. But if you land tails, it also does 20 damage to itself. I don't think it needed the 20. It should have just done nothing. It's not garbage, but it's like, are you really going to be playing this over some other electric Pokemon, especially when it's a stage 2? Probably not. It can cook. We do have another baby Pokemon though. I clicked on the wrong one, bro. We have a Lekid. So Zappy Shot for no energy. This attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I don't think he's going to be that good. I don't think he's going to be that good for multiple reasons. Like, yeah, it's no energy. But like I said, bro, like the baby Pokemon, we got to see if they're actually going to be meta relevant, because they're very easily knocked out by so many things. Like a gust of wind knocks them over, bro, and they start crying. And they just blow up. But we have Raikou. So out of all the legendary dogs, I think Raikou is the best. So 90 HP, whatever, not the best. I think it should especially have more considering the ability. 2 energy, Thunder for 70. So this does one shot an Oricorio in an EX, and a lightning deck, electric deck, same thing. And you also damage 20 damage to itself. I don't think it needed the damage 20 to itself. I think it could have had more HP, at least if it was going to be doing that. 1 retreat cost is cool. I think it's the best of the mid. Like, I think it's the best out of the garbage dogs. So Will it see play? I don't think so, but maybe. We also have this Mulga. So this Mulga is going to be 1 for 40. So it's a Farfetch that also does 10 damage to one of your opponent's bench. I can't speak, bro. Go, man. But yeah, it does 10 damage also to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So I feel like if you actually wanted a electric bench sniper, like I know obviously it does take energy, whereas the Elekid takes no energy because it's a baby Pokemon. I think you'd rather have a Mulga, in my personal opinion. And I don't think it's that bad. I think a Mulga could find its way maybe into an electric deck just because, you know, the 40 damage, like we've seen how good stuff like Cortana is in decks. So I don't think it's bad by any means. I think it's the best electric card here besides Pichu. I think Lantern, you know, can be funny, but at the same time, I just think Rampardos one-shotting you or a Savali just knocking you out pretty fast. Moving on to the psychic types, we have a new Slowpoke. So Rest, this Pokemon is now asleep. He'll 30 damage from it. Cool, whatever. So we have Slowking. I love Slowking, bro. 2 energy, 1 psychic, 1 colorless for 10 damage base. This attack does 30 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Are you really going to be playing a stage 1 when you could just play the Jinx that does the same thing for the same energy requirement? Because the Jinx does base 30 damage, it only does 20 more damage for each energy, but also has a 1 retreat cost, where the Slowking has a 2 and it's a stage 1. So I unfortunately don't see seeing play. Maybe the 30 damage actually does add up in certain scenarios, but Jinx does have like a base of 30 damage, so maybe that can, I don't know. We gotta wait and see. Speaking of Jinx, we actually have a Smoochum and a new Jinx, but Smoochum is going to do this attack does 20 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's essentially a Tapu Lele just attacking the active. So Stoke Charizard would be good against, but I think it's because it's a baby Pokemon, bro. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, it has potential in certain matchups to be like a last hit attacker to win you a game. But as an early offensive Pokemon, like I just imagine like playing this in your deck and unfortunately starting with this and no other Pokemon is just, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know why you'd play this when you could just play Tapu Lele in a psychic deck. Obviously, this is colorless, so you could play it in anything. But I'm just not convinced. Renew Jinx, flip a coin if your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, or heads if your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed, dude. For 30, no. Cleffa, we've already seen Cleffa. This is the Shiinotic, but it's a baby. Plus a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. It already got Power Crap Bro in its own set. We have new Togepi, Togekiss line. So Togekiss, if any damage is done to this Pokemon by attack, flip a coin. If heads, prevents all damage. So it can be a very fun YouTube content. 3 energy. You still can't pair this with Cynthia. So you can do up to, what is that, 120 damage for 3 energy. I think it's funny, bro. I don't think it's going to be anything meta relevant, bro. But I think someone is going to play this in the tournament and do good because they're going to have the time of their life. And coin flips, by the way, coin flips. We will be getting into coin flips. But besides that, we have Zatsu, which is going to be a stage 1, 2 psychic energy. Flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now 10 HP remaining. You can combo this with something like Greninja or Typhlosion to instantly kill them. Obviously, on the following turn. Obviously, you know, like something like Typhlosion would just kill them with Zatsu, which is kind of funny. At the same time, it's going to be a gimmick Pokemon. And only 80 HP, 2 energy, bro, is a lot. I'm not even going to talk about Espeon, bro. It's so disappointing. But yeah, he'll 30 damage with the 80 damage. It's not good. We have Unknown and we have Unknown. So this Unknown has Guard. This ability works if you have an Unknown in play with a different ability other than Guard. All of your Pokemon take minus 10 damage. So it is essentially going to be a blue. That is permanent if this is in the bench. If you have this other Unknown, which gives you plus 10. So if you have both of those Unknowns, obviously you can only play 2 copies because they share the same name. You have to have this one and the other one in the bench, and then your opponent or your Pokemon all take minus 10 damage and do plus 10 damage. Not worth it, bro. It's just not worth it. I think it's funny. I think someone's gonna make some cool, funny deck profiles, but competitive wise, which I'm gonna say, this is a competitive wise video. For fun, a lot of these cards look very fun to play, but obviously I'm doing on the competitive level. Next up, we have Wobbuffet. So we have 2 for 30. If this Pokemon was damaged by an attack during your opponent's last turn while it was in the active spot, this attack does 50 more damage. So 2 for 80 after it's been attacked and only 90 HP as a basic. Not that good, unfortunately. We have that. I don't even know why I can't pronounce his name right now, but 3 energy for 50 damage. Doesn't even matter what the text is, bro. It does confuse them. Throw it away. We have Granbull. 3 for 100, but damage itself not good as well. And then we have Muna slash Mucharma, 2 energy for 60. Both active Pokemon are now asleep. I don't know why you want to put your Pokemon to sleep. You could technically play Comfy to prevent your guy from being asleep. Only 60. I just don't know. It's not. It's funny. I think it's funny. I think you could play this deck of Comfy like as a casual. I think it could be a cool deck competitive wise. All the psychic types suck. The funniest one is that too. It's like, I mean, like I said, like I'm enjoying like these cards, like the unknowns, like the SP, like all these cards, like the Togeki's look fun, like casual wise. By the way, I just want to say that once again because I really do think this set is very casual focused, just because we've seen a lot of mid, bro. Competitive wise, because we don't have anything that's really gonna shake up the meta that we've seen so far. Like I can just go scroll through all the ones we've looked at. I think Kingdra maybe, and Gyarados maybe you might see, but so far nothing. Let's move on. We have a new Onyx for 3 colorless because we get Steelix for 50 damage. I think you'd still rather just play the old one, bro. New Sudowoodo, complete garbage. Gliscor 2 colorless for 60. It's just like, why are you going to be playing this when there's other stuff that is 2 energy for more damage? We have a new Mamoswine, Earthquake. This attack also does 20 damage to each of your bench Pokemon for 160. But FYI, we have no fighting ramps though. The only ramp we actually have is going to be the Passimian, bro. It's not good. I'm very upset because Mamoswine is one of my favorite Pokemon, and it's just we have 2 mid ones. I think if you can't get it set up, 160 damage is a lot, but how are you going to set up for injury? Anyways, new EX Pokemon, Donphan and Phanpy. 30 damage. This Pokemon also does 10 damage to itself. By the way, that 30 damage number is going to be very important, by the way. So just remember this for a fighting type. We have Donphan. Stage 1, 106 HP, very tanky. 3 retreat cost, kind of sucks. Gigantic Press, 50 base damage for 1. If you have 3 energy on it, because obviously 2 more than 1, also does 60 more damage. So up to 110 for 3 energy and base 50. I think this has potential with Lucario, and we have a lot of fighting type Pokemon. I think this has potential mainly because of a card we will get into. So once we get into this, I'll come back to Donphan, but I think Donphan, I do like it. We also have Tyrogue, which is another baby Pokemon, which is just a 20 attack for nothing. So you can't use this on turn 1. Don't like it. I don't think you're going to be using this. New Hitmontop though, Piercing Spin, 20 base damage. This attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it is going to be a Pheromosa for fighting types. I really like this card. I really like it because we've already seen how strong stuff like Pheromosa is. We have Larvitar and Pupitar. Don't really do anything. Pupitar is 2 colorless. Takes minus 30 from the next attack. 20 damage only. Tyranitar, it is going to be dark though, so we will get into that. And then we have Barbicle, which is 3 for 70 filler. But we have a new Zubat and Golbat. So these Pokemon both poison for 10 and 20. We have Crobat EX. I think this is the best EX from the set. I'm going to say this now. I think this card is extremely broken. 170 HP, 1 retreat cost, a 1 energy stage 2 Pokemon for 70 damage, which also poisons. So it's 1 energy for 80 damage. You could pair this with Darkrai, Nihilego. There's also another card probably we'll get into. I think this card is very good. And the reason I said, it's just, by the way, it's just very broken going turn either first or second because you can just do a lot of damage. But why did I mention that 30 HP is very important on Phanpy? Because it will one-shot something like a Zubat, which is going to be very important. So also this is why I think fighting types are going to be very good, because obviously Crobat is weak to fighting types. Yeah, so I think Crobat EX is very good, and I think fighting types are going to be meta relevant because Crobat is going to be very good. We have Ariados, which is going to be a 1 for 40 and your opponent can't retreat after it gets attacked. I think it's cool. I like the fact that there's 1 energy. At the same time, a lot of cards to switch out. 40 is not the most, and there's just better dark type. Like, why would you play Ariados when you could just play Crobat? But I think it's good. I think it's good, but it's kind of just like outclassed. Umbreon EX, which is going to be the Saracen, the active for 2 for 80. We've already talked about that before, so don't really want to get more into it. Oh, we have a new Honchkrow, which is just 2 for 60. Like, I'm kind of upset that they just didn't make it good. But we have a new Sneasel and a Weavile. So we have a non-EX Weavile for 50 damage. We've seen before, like, 1 energy 50 damage. I just play Crobat. New Houndoom, 3 for 70. Discard a random card from your opponent's hand. Too much energy. Does not matter. Tyranitar, though, fan favorite Tyranitar. Once during your turn, you may move all dark energy from each of your Pokemon to this Pokemon. 130 damage for a tree cost. I think this card is mid. I just don't like. Sure, like what dark are you gonna be like? You're not gonna be using this in Crobat because it's stage 2. Like you could use this in Dark Giratina and like transfer all the dark energy to Tyranitar endgame, but like why? Why would you do that? There's also no dark ramp up card as far as my knowledge, unless there's no dark ramp up. It's mid. Unfortunately, bro, it's just maybe if it did more damage, like maybe like 150, 160 damage for 4, but the fact that it only does 130 damage is just like the salt of the wound. We have Leap Over, Absol, 80 HP, by the way. 80 HP. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so it's basically a Hitmonlee for dark types. I think this is cool. I think they want you to play Absol with Umbreon EX. Whether you actually do or not is going to be to wait and see. But we've seen Hitmonlee be meta relevant in the past, so I'm going to say this card is cool. It's not bad. Best dark type, Crobat. 100% this card is going to be meta relevant, and this might be the new top tier card, or like new top tier deck at the meta. So we can now see Fortress. We saw earlier the Pinecone, 3 for 80, bad. Steelix, which is going to be 1 metal only for 110, also very mid. It's partially very mid. We have Scissor. So Scissor is going to be 2 metal for 50 damage. But if this Pokemon moved from your bench to the active spot, it does 100 damage. I don't think it's going to be that good. You could technically part this with something like Solgaleo. No, you can't. They basically want you to use Lyra with this card. Lyra. I just think, like, why would you play Scissor when you could just play Solgaleo for 120? Like, obviously, you need rare candy and stuff like that, but, like, it's just worth it. Skarmory EX. So during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes minus 20 damage, still wing. There is going to be a support card that combos with this, so we will get into it later. 70 damage for 2 energy, bro. It's just a little bit too much to set up going for a Sucks. Only 140 HP. It's just not a lot of damage, bro. It's just not good. There's not a lot of good metal types to pair it with, because like why would you play this once again over just Solgaleo? New Mawa, 1 for 30, whatever. Klinklang, which is going to be 3. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Gear Sprinter attack is plus 70, so 3 for 140 after your attack initially. Stage 2 though, why would you play this over something like Togekiss that already does that? That also has access to Cynthia, that is also a 2 energy attacker. Obviously, Pokemon that have the weakness to metal types, obviously Klinklang would be better, but at the same time, I think Cynthia is just better. And that is it for the Steel types. So what is the best Steel type? Technically Skarmory EX, but they all suck. I think Skarmory EX might be like a rogue deck. It could cook, going second, is pretty decent. But besides that, I just don't see any of these really being too impactful. Moving on to the colorless Pokemon, I think Pharaoh is very funny. It is 1 for base 30, but if it attacks a grass Pokemon, it does up to 40 more damage. So 1 for 70 on grass types. I think this is funny against Buzzwole. Same time, it's not really going to be relevant because it's very specific. Maybe if like there's like a bunch of grass type metas at one point, bro, like this Pharaoh could see play. We have Blissey, which is going to be 3 for base 20. This attack does 20 more damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So it can do, and it can do 80 just being able to attack for the first time. I think also YouTube content, using something like Dogga, stacking like 2 million energy on it, bro, and then attacking and one-shotting everything. I think it's gonna be funny. We have a new Kangaskhan, bro. So crosscut for 20 base damage, but if your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolution Pokemon, that does 40 more damage, so 1 for 60. I think I like this better than the other Kangaskhan that's a coin flip, because almost like most decks evolve nowadays. So if they do evolve, you can do 60 damage for 1. I think that's like pretty decent. I don't know if people are actually gonna play this because like I don't know what deck really kind of plays like a weird like option. I don't know, like I just feel like it's cool. I just think it's cool. I don't know what deck's gonna play this, but I think it is better than the old Kangaskhan. And the reason I said that Corsola earlier was bad. So Sylveon got a huge buff. We have a new Eevee. Put a random Pokemon from your deck into your hand. So with the Collect EV, most people are using that card. They just find evolutions anyways. Like, yeah, some certain situations you would use it for the rare candy, but now you could just use this, find the Sylveon, evolve. Like, is very. If people are just gonna play this over the other one, I'm just gonna tell you that 100%. Like, it's just very broken, bro. Yeah, it's just a Sylveon buff. We have Porygon 2, which I like that as stage 1. Obviously, before the stage 2 has an ability. So whenever you're attaching energy from your energy zone to this Pokemon, put a random card from your deck that evolves from this Pokemon onto this Pokemon to evolve it. So what I think happens is you basically put an energy on it and then it just evolves into Porygon Z. From my understanding, unless I'm reading that wrong. And Porygon Z is 2 energy. During your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon cost 1 more. So essentially an attack that does what Stoutland's ability is. I think it's cool. I think it can be funny, and I think some people will play it at especially like early season, be very annoying. And if not, it's just gonna be one of those casual cards. We have Sentret, which is 1 for 20, whatever. Why would you play that over something like a Farfetch'd? We have Furret, obviously. Well, I forgot it kind of evolves. I always forget that these evolve, bro. They do not look similar, but I love Furret. 1 for 80 damage, but if it tells attack does nothing. Very funny. Hoot ability, can't be asleep. Knocked out for 3 energy, fly, a little bit too much. But it's eventually one of those prevent all damage effects if you land heads. Not really that good. Apon, draw cards until you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent. Then you could evolve it into Ambipom for 40 damage, but yeah, like a 1 energy 40 damage attack. It's not worth it, bro. It's just not worth it. Just pick up. Why would you want to use this to draw cards when you can just play Sylveon? Dunsparce, 1 for 20. Has your opponent's active Pokemon is paralyzed. Just a better paralyzed Pokemon, only 50 HP as well. We have Ursaring, flip 2 coins, attack to 20 more damage for each heads. Like, it's just too much energy cost. Stantler, 2 for 20. If it has a tool, it does 70, but like, why would you play this for 70 when you can just play Skarmory for 50 for 1? In my personal opinion, like, yeah, it's colorless. We have Smeargle, which is 2 for 50, and basically does what Porygon used to do. It just changes your opponent's next energy to a random one. Oh no, it changes the type attached to your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah, so you can like screw over your opponent's active Pokemon by switching the type on one of their energy to something like, you know, maybe if they're playing like a Pokemon that needs 2 grass, it might switch to like a fire. So funny. We have Lugia, which, yeah, we have Lugia, and then we have bro, Buffalint, I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, bro. 3 for 70. Flip until you get tails, like a 70 for each heads. We've already seen this. It's just, I don't know why. It's just too, no one's playing this. Just no one's playing this. Anyways, bro, let's get to the item cards. Elemental Switch, we already know what it does. It's a Dawn for fire, water, and electric, but an item card. We have Squirt Bottle. Discard a fire energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So we have an item card. Basically, this is meant to just delete Stoke Charizard. They obviously can just play around it by attaching, you know, more than 1 energy before they go in, so it does prevent them from going in immediately. Possibly if like Stoke Charizard is still meta relevant, which it might be with that new EV, people might be using this as tech option. This also does screw over Flareon if they attack and only have 1 energy left remaining, and it could just be a nuisance to other fire type Pokemon. I think it's extremely funny, bro, and it's like, I'm just bringing out the Squirt Bottle, bro. I'm shooting these Charizards down. I think it's hilarious, and I will possibly use this just as a meme, just in case I run into a Stoke Charizard. We have Steel Apron. So metal Pokemon this card is attached to takes -10 damage, and the also cannot be affected by special conditions. So if we think about the main one is Skarmory, we also have the new Skarmory over here, which you take advantage. And I might as well just talk about this now. We also have a new support card, which is going to be Jasmine. Well, Skarmory EX takes -50 and Steelix takes -50. So like, they basically want you to do is like, use Jasmine, put the Steel Apron on the Skarmory EX, take like I think like 80 damage at the end. Yeah, because -20, -10, then -50, -80 damage from attacks in the next turn. Same time, like the Skarmory is not a finisher. It's not going to be doing a bunch of damage. And I think Steelix is pretty bad. So unfortunately, I don't think that's the best support card. We have Dark Pendant, which is so broken, bro, which is also another reason I think Crobat is going to be insane. If a dark Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, your opponent reveals a random card from their hand and shuffles it back into their deck. First off, why does Dartina need more support? People might just be putting this on Darkrai Giratina, very annoying. But put this on a Crobat, dude, and then evolve on your second turn. What is your opponent going to do? So Guzma might become very meta relevant because this card might be very obnoxious if Crobat actually is a top tier deck. So yeah. Just the fact that 170 HP putting a Dark Pendant on, so every time you attack, you're losing hand advantage and maybe cards you need to be able to actually knock it out is absolutely insane to me. We have Rescue Scarf. We already know what that does. It's not good. And let's get into all of the supporters. So we have Will. So the next time you flip any number of coins for an effect of an attack, ability, or a trainer card after using this card on this turn, the first flip is going to be guaranteed heads. This is worded a little bit weird. Like, for example, if I use Will, can I use Misty on the next turn and be guaranteed heads? That's what I'm curious about, because it says attack, ability, or trainer card. As far as my knowledge, there is no trainer card that is not a supporter that flip a coin. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But it also says after using this card on this turn. So I'm not too sure. But anyways, it essentially makes like Pokemon like Executor. Like, for example, we could just pull it up. This guy is going to be guaranteed to do 150 damage if you use Will after attacking or before attacking. So I think Will can have some applications. I think this card is actually better than what I first originally thought. I think people are going to cook up some mnemonic decks with this. At the same time, if you don't have Will, those cards are very inconsistent because it is a coin flip. But I think this card can cook. Is it going to be meta defining? Probably not. But is there going to be some decks that probably somehow like take advantage of this broken ability to land a heads? Probably somewhere in the meta. Next up we have Lyra. We were just seeing this one. Lyra, I mean. Switch Pokemon does damage with one of your bench Pokemon. You know, it's a way to get around those cards. Silver, we're just talking about Silver, the hand disruption. We have Fisher. So Fisher, flip 3 coins for each heads. A water Pokemon is chosen at random from your discard pile and put it back into your hand. So this card is basically meant to combo with the Gyarados. You basically play a Fisher, Fishnet, and then you just use this Gyarados and attack multiple times, which is why I think that Gyarados can be potentially be like a roguish low tier deck. Jasmine, we've already talked about, which gives them minus 50 damage. And we have Hiker, which is a fighting type support. For each of your fighting Pokemon in play, look at that many cards from the top of your deck and put them back in any order. So in actual TCGs, I think this would be a very strong card. However, in Pokemon Pocket, we just have so many ways for your opponent to shuffle your deck, whether Red Card, Mars, and Silver now. I just don't think this card is worth the play. It can make something like Rampardos more consistent. I'm not going to say it's completely garbage, but I want to state the fact that there are so many ways for your opponent to shuffle your deck after using this that I am skeptical about the actual practical use of this card. But however, if you do use this card, obviously, you know, sometimes you might just have 3 bad cards in the top of the deck, but theoretically it can be very powerful in certain situations as long as they don't shuffle your deck. So we have to wait to see if something like Donphan will take advantage of this card, or if it's just going to be like one of those cards some people use and some people don't use. It kind of just depends as the tech option in that deck. Anyways, let's look at all the full arts, bro. So first off, just looking at all these ones, you know, for Pokemon, I'm going to keep it a buck, bro. I'm going to keep it a buck. I think Scissor, first off, the background on Scissor, bro, just like the black is just for, I love the contrast between the red and the black. I just think that's pretty sick. I like Hoot Hoot next to the clock, but I think honestly, I think Tonadile, bro, has the best one. I just like I don't know, it just looks very sick, very aesthetically pleasing with like the flowers, the rocks, I like every little detail about this card. So that's personally my favorites. For the 2 stars, I don't really like any of the 2 stars. I don't like the background doesn't really look good on all of them, bro. I think probably like Lugia is the best one. For support cards, I think Silver looks cool. I think Lyra looks cool. I think Will is I think it's cool. I think all the support cards are like cool. I think the Hiker kind of has like a weird ugly background because like green and yellow, but Rainbow Kingdra cooked, bro. Shuckle cooked. Lantern, I'm kind of about. Espeon is cool. I think Donphan is cool. Crobat is cool. Umbreon is sick. I think Skarmory is cool. I think Ho-Oh is would have been cool, but I actually found out that apparently like the artist like traced us, so unfortunate, but it's whatever. But I think Lugia is sick. I think Lugia Unity immersive. But for rainbows, I think my favorite is probably like Kingdra. And we have a bunch of new shinies, which is whatever, just pack fillers. We also get the shiny Eevee Find for friends, so I hope I get this one. I hope I get it. Now let's look at actually what is going to be the best pack. Because let me just state this. So what do I think are the best cards in this set? The best cards I think in this set are going to be Magby, Gyarados, Kingdra, Pichu, Amoga, possibly Cook, but I don't think, who knows. Let's see. Donphin, Umbreon, Crobat, Silver, Dark Pendant, and Lyra. Let's look at what the Ho-Oh pack has. So the Ho-Oh pack for EX-wise has Umbreon, Crobat, Ho-Oh, which I do think is better than Lugia because at least it is a ramp up that is generic, and Donphin. It also has Silver and Jasmine. I think in terms of Pokemon wise, and for the item card, it has Dark Pendant as well. I think EX wise, support card wise, and item card wise, like they are technically supporters or trainers. I mean, trainer card wise and Pokemon wise, I think you should be opening up the Ho-Oh competitively. I think these just have the better cards. It also has the Find Eevee, from what I'm pretty sure, or maybe that's just like generic. It has the Eevee. We can look at what the other one has as well. And also, not only that, also it has something I forgot to mention, a Hitmontop. It also has Hitmontop. I think Ho-Oh is going to be the pack to open. We can just look like Typhlosion is in this, which is unfortunate. We have also Kingdra in this, which I think is like good. But the only card I really would want in here is like Lyra and Elemental Switch. So I think for me personally, I'm going to open up Ho-Oh first and basically pray I get all the cards, and I'm going to start opening up this and hopefully just get like Lyra right away. I think Lugia possibly might be the worst DX. We have to wait and see how good Ho-Oh and Lugia actually are, but I don't think they're going to be a good combo. Considering there's no energy generation like support card just for them. Anyways, that is my full set review. I know it might seem like I sounded very negative on all the cards. However, like I said, this was competitive wise. I really am interested in just playing a bunch of decks, especially in casuals this season, possibly if the meta doesn't change too much. And yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to it. Comes out in launch, comes out the night at 9 or 11 p.m. I'm going to be streaming at 11 p.m. maybe like 10:50, like 10 minutes before. And if anyone wants to watch, I hope to see you there. If not, peace out, have a lovely day, and let me know which cards you guys are looking forward to playing with the most.